Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mok, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? You know, Jacky P, I was walking through the woods the other day, and you know what I came across? It was the weirdest thing.
Not a bear or anything scary.
I mean, we have some bears here in Ohio, but it was not a bear. It was pretty scary, though.
What was it?
I saw a turkey walking with a chicken. The head of the chicken was stuffed up the butt of the turkey. And then a duck head was stuffed up the butt of the chicken. So you know what I decided to do? I was like, I'm going to shoot this thing. I got to eat it, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's the natural thing.
I mean, naturally, if you come across anything like that, the first order of business is to eat it and just see how it tastes.
Oh, absolutely. And completely natural, right? I mean,
it's got to be good for you. It's all protein.
We've been growing animals in animals for centuries, right?
It's natural. Yeah. That's how you found it. So, of course.
On the other side of the forest, there was like a tube of tofu that was running around. So I was like, you know, I'm going to get at this thing too. So I decided to shoot it, but big hole in tofu. So kind of maybe that was a mistake. I don't know.
Yeah, let's say, like, man, you have your hunting rifle on you all the time, huh? You just never know what strange animal you want to taste. It will be walking by.
All right. So that's the beginning of the show, Maximal Being. I'm here with my good friend, Jacky P. I'm Doc Mok. I am a therapeutic endoscopist, functional medicine doctor practicing in Cleveland, Ohio for the next month. Here to tell you about the Thanksgiving meal. And we made a joke about these kind of extremes of the Thanksgiving meal. Jacky P, are you putting extremes on your Thanksgiving table?
I am a purist. I like things simple and delicious. So no, I am not trying the Turducken. As if you're listening and you weren't catching on, Doc Mok was basically saying how extreme a Turducken is, which is something we'll talk about. But no, I like, because I listened to the last podcast a year ago around this time about how to enjoy Thanksgiving and still have it, not be a nutritional nightmare. I'm simple. I like the simple things that are tried and true, and I don't need to go too crazy outside of the spectrum.
Paleo, keto, vegan, and carnivore. Maybe you've tried them all, but did you have success? Are you still doing that diet? Turns out there's not just one diet right for one particular person. By understanding how your body works and the relationship behind your body's workings and these diets, you can then approach the perfect plan for you. In the Perfect Human Diet course, we talk to you about your body's inner workings and the pros and cons of each plan. We discuss how our ancestors ate and have eaten and lay a framework to tailoring a plan that is perfect for you. To learn more about the Perfect Human Diet course, head to maximalbeing.com/courses to find out more. And as always, I'm Doc Mok, and I'm here to maximize your health.
You cannot supplement your way to health, but there are things that we need to add to our lives that can maximize our pathway to wellness. The American diet is virtually devoid of omega-3 fatty acids, which play a major role in cardiovascular disease, gut permeability, and mental health. Personally, I take omega-3s every night, and iHerb is the best place for clean, natural sources of supplements. I love the ZenWise omega-3 fatty acid supplement, which is free of fish burps and good for the environment. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/iHerb, that's IHERB, and enter the code B as in boy, D as in dog, B as in boy, 5528, and receive 10% off your orders for all supplements. Maximize your supplements with iHerb.
So Doc Mok, let's back it up. All right. So a Turducken, right? What is exactly a Turducken?
just to be clear, and I wish that I could show you all a picture of this thing. We've stuffed a duck in a chicken in a turkey in some order or fashion.
Yeah.
And if you didn't already think that like you were getting enough protein or tryptophan, which we kind of debunked about a year ago, that tryptophan is the cause of people being sleepy, but you are getting a boatload of calories and protein in one little serving. I mean, might as well leave that apple pie to the side because you're not having it if you're gonna hope that your waist doesn't double in size.
Yeah. I mean, I like the merit. I like the idea of like, listen, let's take this turkey to the next level. I like when they add bacon on top of things that usually don't have bacon. Cool. But you know, I believe it was an arc you shared of how many calories a serving of turducken is, if you follow, you know, the traditional recipes that are out there on the interwebs. And Doc Mok, do you remember how many calories one serving, or I guess the entire turducken was?
I mean, one serving of a turducken is like 500 calories. And I think that the whole turducken is, I don't know what, several thousand calories, right?
Yeah. It was like 11. Yeah. It was like 12 or 11, 12,000 calories.
Yeah.
Which, if you cut a piece of that, that's a lot of calories.
Yeah. I mean, grandma, grandpa, the whole family is well along their way to a nap after that meal for sure.
Yeah. I mean, now,
yeah,
I'm not to say I'm not curious how it tastes as a fan of delicious food.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it may not need to be the main show on your plate, right? But you know, so that's turducken. That's the other side of the spectrum, right? And then you said you shot a tube of
I mean, I just saw a bunch of soybeans. They got together, formed this tube, and were like running away. So I had
away. So you shot it, right?
I shot it, of course, like we do in America. We shoot
exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
And crumbled apart, but you know,
yeah.
Another end of the spectrum on the turkey table. So, what are your thoughts about the Tofurky?
So, like I said,
were a wild time for
food. As a purist, if I'm not going to eat meat, I'm not going to eat meat, right? Like if I'm not going to eat meat, I'm not going to eat something that's a meat substitute or is designed to look like meat. I'll just have some vegetables and, you know, get my protein somewhere else. So I don't know what's in Tofurky, right? But I don't like how it sounds, firstly, okay? So I mean, I would say hard no for me. If it was offered, I'd say, yeah, no. You know, turducken, I'll taste a piece. But Tofurky, I mean, I just feel like it's what is in it, you know? You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a child of the 80s, to totally date myself, and I love 80s music, right? 80s television shows, totally amazing. Saved by the Bell, you know, old cartoons that we used to watch. But I don't know what was happening on the Thanksgiving table in 1980 and 1982 when they decided to create the turducken and the Tofurky all around the same time. I guess Americans were getting bored with the Thanksgiving meal and they just decided to mold soy into the shape of a turkey and eat it.
There's so many things wrong with that, right? Like, it doesn't need, if we know it's not turkey, what is it? Does it need to be shaped like a turkey? It might be misleading, right? Let's just say, hey, listen, we have a good substitute, right? Like, you know, we have, I mean, today, right? I don't know about the 80s and 90s, but today we have tons of, you know, animal protein substitutes that taste the part and look the part, right? And can typically be healthier for you. But, you know, I remember, right, and I'll ask you, Doc, because I always remember seeing rumors like, oh, you know, too much soy is terrible for you. It's going to lead to so many bad ailments and stuff. And, you know, there's going to be a reckoning when we put in all this soy, right? Is that true, right? Is too many soy-based products, is that good for us, bad for us? Neither?
Yeah. So as men, we're always worried about the concept of estrogenization, right? Where we eat a lot of these soy products, and soy has compounds in it or a structure that looks very much like our estrogen sex hormones do, which all men, sorry to break it to you, you have some estrogen in you. So the thought process was that if we eat a lot of soy as men, we will make more estrogen because it looks like estrogen binds to the receptors, and therefore we'll turn into girly men, right? We'll feminize. We'll be, our voices will change. We may get, breast tissue. Turns out, Jacky P, that is not true. I mean, that is just probably the ongoing insecurity of us men.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
on the flip side, there was a big worry about, can it make things like breast cancer worse, right? Because a lot of breast cancers have estrogen and progesterone receptors on them. And actually, they have found that soy-based products may in fact be protective against breast cancer. On
Wow.
the other end, too, women that undergo menopause get terrible side effects and hot flashes, and which can really feel awful. If any of you have experience out there, you know what I'm talking about. And things like soy-based products do help to mitigate the severity, to lessen the severity of those menopausal side effects. So no, you can't overdose on soy. But I will say this, Jacky P, I'm not knocking our vegan and vegetarian brothers and sisters out there. If you do practice those things for a good reason, for whether it be health or whether it be religious, more power to you. I've tried it, does not work for me at all. You need to be aware. You need to supplement with a B12. B12 is a B vitamin integral to so many of our cellular processes, and can cause neurologic problems, can cause issues with cognition, can cause issues with our red blood cell, and tingling in your fingers and toes. Also difficulty with the way that you walk. And so the only way that you can get B12 is from animals, period.
Mm.
Also, you may be lacking in certain amino acids, right? Amino acids are building blocks to protein, and not all sources of vegetable vegan proteins are complete. So you may be missing something. So like me, I had all these weird muscle aches and pains. And once I got onto a supplement that, supplemented all the amino acids, I felt much, much better. A lot of people that are vegan, vegetarian also tend to be deficient in things like iron, and also things like iodine. So you need to implement some marine plants into your Thanksgiving meal. The best things, put a little sushi or some nori on the side. I know it sounds funny, but hey, Thanksgiving table doesn't have to be classic, right? And also, Jacky P, I don't know if you've looked at a lot of vegan vegetarian tables, but there's a lot of carbs on the table, right? And I think that a lot of people that are vegan and vegetarian can be overweight because you're trying to get a lot of your protein from carbohydrate sources like beans and legumes, and you're overcompensating in the carbohydrate department. So you're having a normal serving of carb and then also a protein that has a lot of carb or is a carb, and you're getting too much carbs and you store extra energy. So I'm not eating the Tofurky.
Wow, I didn't really think about the lack of the protein intake and having been leading with a carb, right? So I guess that that just lends to think, whatever you do, right, whatever your dietary beliefs are, right, that you want to make sure that you are still keeping the picture balanced, right? Yeah. Whatever the reason, right, we need your protein. But I was in Vitamin Shop, and they had like a plant-based protein powder.
Yeah.
And it was good. And I was like, yeah, it's 2021, right? The options are out there. So that's good. So speaking of balance, right? And we're a few days from Turkey Day, right? And we're all gonna, depending who you are, I know folks who they start dinner at 2 p.m, which to me is just a very large lunch. I know folks who start at 8, right? But Doc, what would you say are like one of the major pitfalls when folks come into Thanksgiving? They might be following a specific eating plan, or maybe they're just trying to do quote unquote healthier alternatives. What would you say are like one or two pitfalls folks typically fall in on this day of eating and thanks?
Yeah. I mean, this time of year, some of my favorite vegetables come out. Like you have a lot of brassica vegetables, things like broccoli, like cauliflower, like Brussels sprouts. And those things are just like the ultimate vegetable. Not only do they help you with, like getting nice like micronutrients because of their color, but they also have these things called phytochemicals. And in particular, like sulforaphane is a subset of those phytochemicals. And sulforaphane is like the ultimate detox agent, right? There's 2 stages to detox. And the first stage, it revs up stage 1, phase 1, and then it also helps you to rev up phase 2 so that you can clear out all that junk. And I feel like people just kind of ignore the veggies. They like take, second fiddle on the Thanksgiving table. It's all about the carbs, man. And it's all about the boring color carbs, like brown carbs.
Yeah.
You need a lot of color, right? We need a colorful plate, and that'll get us these micronutrients and phytochemicals that help to counteract all the inflammation you're getting from all of those foreign substances in the dessert you're about to have. So I think that's the worst, is people ignore the veggies.
Yeah, lack of, you said, I remember you saying this as well on some podcast about just, different colored veggies, right? There's basically a million veggies out there that you can have that all comes with different colors. And, that might be a interesting different way to present the table, all right? Or to have your plate, right? Everyone, we're in a social media age, right? If you didn't post a picture of your Thanksgiving plate, you technically did not celebrate the holiday. That's essentially how people think, right? So like, would you want just, the brown cornbread, the yellow mac and cheese and brown rice and brown chicken and all that stuff? And, or, like, ooh, some green peppers and red bell peppers, yellow peppers, like something more floral and artsy, and also it's better for you, right?
And when we do get that color, we mess it up, right? We take yams, which are these beautiful tubers, which is just like ripe fuel for your microbiome, right? Loaded with these like wonderful things for your microbiome to feast on. And then we just lace it with sugar.
Yep.
We just totally undo all that goodness.
So good. You take the yams like, oh, this is such a great superfood. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to put some marshmallows on top of this.
That's right.
That's what we're going to do.
We're just going to give it a Stay Puft hug. Just a nice big old hug.
Yeah. And we're just going to be like, basically take all away the goodness. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy the dishes, because for myself, the candied yams, that may be the only time I see candied yams, right, on Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. So you don't need to be the most efficient eater, right? But it doesn't need to be half of your plate doesn't need to be candy yams, right? Or it doesn't need to be all the topping. And once upon a time, I used to just eat like the topping, like just marshmallow with a little bit of yams. Like, I don't want the rest of this. Is this the vegetable? And just put that, and everyone knows this trick. You put it in the trash face down, so they don't know how much food you threw away. Like, I don't know about that. So but now, right, we have to pace ourselves, right?
Yeah.
What would you say also, speaking of just adding bad to good things, right? Like, what are other things like would you think would help avoid taking a great food and turn it into essentially junk food, right? Like, what is the fake healthy stuff out there? Like, anything comes to mind you can think of?
So, I mean, one of the big thing that comes in mind are things that are like low cal or zero cal. I don't know if you eat any Greek yogurt nowadays, but like Greek yogurt without calories, what is that thing? Like Yogurt by definition is made from milk fats.
Yeah.
And so how does it not have a calorie? That makes absolutely no sense. So therefore it's made with fake stuff, or it has emulsifiers in it. And emulsifiers are like napalming your microbiome. So that's like a fake healthy food, are these like 0-calorie, fake, like low calorie sort of things.
Yeah. And, and calorie is fuel, right? So why would I want to eat something that's like, hey, there's no fuel in this at all?
Exactly. What's the point? That now you're just talking all like satiety and your food addiction tendencies as humans, right? The other thing is artificial sweeteners. So, things like sucralose and, even things like stevia, we're finding change your gut microbiome to some of the bad guys. So some of these things that can generate inflammation. And so, staying as natural, if you are going to add sweetness, using things like honey that also have anti-inflammatory modulating biochemicals in it and more of a structure to it, those things are much better for your body than some sort of, non sugar containing artificial sweetener. Trust me.
Nice. That's good to know. Yeah. Cause speaking of honey, I did pay a visit to DocMok not so long ago.
Yeah.
And it was
to visit me.
It was a blast. It was great. And and he had, of course, his DocMok. If anyone who lives what they preach is definitely DocMok.
Yeah.
And he had like real honey. That's
right.
And I was like, oh, Quinn, we have like organic raw honey, right? But like, I feel like it's like real honey light. Like, it's not like, I feel like it's a little, and you could just tell, like, just by the consistency, like, oh, this is like real deal. Like, this just came straight out the hive into this bottle.
That's right.
And it was delicious. And so it might be something that's hard to find, but if there's something out there that's real and, back to where we're saying, hey, like, is it the closest way that, the most natural form we can eat this food? Honey's a great sweetener.
Absolutely.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? It's DocMok here. Many of you are returning to the gym now, but some are not going back. Regardless of what you plan, Rogue has got the right gear to fit your needs. I personally own a barbell set and love it. The Black Ops shorts are sweat resistant and flexible for getting deep in your squats. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/rogue for our referral link. Order 3 items and they ship for free. And as usual, it's DocMok, and I'm here to maximize your pathway to wellness. If you're stuck at home and cannot make it to the grocery store, delivery may be the best way to stay clean and healthy. Instacart is the national leader in the direct-to-home delivery service. With numerous major chains and food from smaller stores, you can get those local veggies sent directly to your doorstep. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/Instacart and maximize your nutrition today.
I would also say people like they ruin a lot of healthy things by the way that they cook food. So cooking things at a super high heat, right? I love to barbecue, right? But if you're barbecuing or if you're microwaving something or if you're frying something, you're bringing that protein from like a room temperature or a colder up to say 400 degrees if you're frying. And when you do that to a protein, it generates something called advanced glycolytic end products, or AGEs, AGES. And these things are damaging to your DNA. And so, these are the things that can cause cancer. And so, not to freak everybody out, like, and put your tinfoil hats on when you're standing in front of your microwave, but, be careful how you cook food and make sure that you're cooking them at kind of a lower and slower amount. I would also say that be careful what oils or fats you're using to cook your foods, right? If you're using a fat that could be rancid, something like, say, canola oil, right? That's polyunsaturated, that can mutate. And again, it can damage your DNA. So using things like coconut oil as a go-to cooking agent that has a very high smoke point will help you to avoid these things. And then also another interesting tip, Jacky P, is that there are certain herbs you can add to your food that counteract the effect of those AGEs in our body. So they neutralize them. Whoa. And things like turmeric or curcumin, things like rosemary and things like blueberries, if you put them in, say, your food while you're cooking it, grilling it, it can reverse the effect of those damaging products. So use some herbs in every meal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I put blueberries in everything. I should probably cook with it more. It's
Love
good,
blueberries.
good in yogurt and oatmeal. All right. And Docmok, what do you do, right? So you eat the vegetables, right? You make the vegetables the star of the show, right? You make sure you have plenty of vegetables, right? But like if you know you're gonna have this big meal, right, ahead of time, what do you do? Do you do something during the day, right? Like, what is Docmok's routine on Turkey Day?
Yeah, wake up and move. Like, move as much as possible. If for you, you're not at the point where you can exercise really well, that's fine. Just go for a walk around the neighborhood, get at least 5,000, ideally at least 10,000 steps. That'll help you to like use that ton of carbs you're about to get in your body, to burn those off, to make it more of a neutral or less negative sort of force. And I would say, even if you do something that's a little higher intensity or moderate intensity with weights, you really need those carbs. You need a lot of carbs at that meal. So then you get to enjoy that Thanksgiving meal. And I love to eat, you saw that this past weekend. Absolutely.
Yes. Docmok puts it back. He puts it back. He puts it back.
But I mean, you get to enjoy the meal so much more when you have moved your body around and you need that fuel to fuel that exercise. So I get up, I exercise, and I think we're neglecting one major part of Thanksgiving, Jacky. And this dates back, if you want to believe the original Thanksgiving Day stories, it's that of community, right? We have all been in boxes for the last 2 years. Hopefully you're all safe out there and get to see family and friends that you haven't seen for so long. Like I got to see Jacky P and his wonderful family. So use it as time for community, right? We've learned from the blue zone cultures, the cultures that have most centenarians, that purpose and community in life are what leads to longevity. So being around people, sharing those stories around the fire, that's what gives you purpose to move forward. So enjoy the community aspect of the Thanksgiving meal. That's what I do.
That's fair. That's as always, very poignant and well said, Doc, right? We getting together, right? If you're like me, I'm a food focused individual, to eat and enjoy also I have a prolific sweet tooth, so I do enjoy the desserts, right? But let's remember why we're there for and have fun with family, friends, right? And Doc, it's always a pleasure just chatting with you and just having just some us time.
Pleasure is mine. I know. I really enjoy this too.
It's really great. We should do this more. We always say we will, but we don't. Yeah. But everyone listening, if you're traveling to see your families and friends, please travel safely. And if you're going to sit down at a table and we've got Turducken on there, eat that Turducken safely, eat it lightly, enjoy your meal, right? And try to maximize the experience and enjoy the company. I'm Jacky P, your layman, and Docmok, hostess with the mostess. See you next time.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Docmok here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.